All right, good morning and welcome back. Today we're going to talk about this last little chunk of chapter 6. So our final shape that we're going to be talking about is a kite. And this is a quadrilateral, so that means a four-sided figure, four-sided polygon. It's going to have two pairs of consecutive congruent sides. Okay, so much like on the trapezoid, we knew consecutive angles, so like next to, one after the other. With this consecutive sides, so here's a picture of the kite. You see how the sides next to each other are congruent? These sides next to each other are congruent. So if we want to draw that, we could have there we go. So it looks like that and that are the same. These two are next to each other and also congruent. So that would be an example of a kite. Now, there's a couple of rules about a kite. So first off, it's quadrilateral, four-sided figure. And we know diagonals are perpendicular, meaning if we look here, this diagonal forms a right angle, not only right there, but here, here, here. All four of those would be right angles. Okay, and we know that's about every kite. And finally, then, it says there's exactly one pair of opposite angles that are congruent. Okay, so that will always be the ones in between. So like C and A, do you see how it's in between 1 and 2 markings, 1 and 2 markings? It's the one that goes in between. So not in between two that are congruent, but in between the not congruent ones. So we know that angle A is congruent here to angle C. So if we look here, it says we need to find X. So if we look over here, X is this missing side between QP. And if we think about it, if this is a kite, which we see it is, then we know that this is a right angle formed by the diagonal. So if we think about this, we have a triangle here, a right triangle. We don't know what X is. We know this is 4. We know this is 3. We can use a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And we will find what X is. So 9 plus 16 will equal X squared. 25 equals that X squared. And X will equal 5. Okay, now on the next one. Once again, we're doing the same thing. This time it asks us to find each of those side lengths around the edge. Now hopefully you can see, we know that if this is 5, so 5 and 6, the length from MA to MH, those will be the same. So if I find one, I'll have the other. Likewise, from HT to AT, those are the same. And all of these are right angles in here. So let's start if I deal with this one for MA and then MH. So a 6 and a 5. So we can do 6 squared plus 5 squared will be equal to X squared. I don't know what that side is. So 36 plus 25 equals X squared. That's going to be, let's see, is that 61? Will equal our X squared. Take the square root of that. X will equal the square root of 61. Now you could leave it like that, or let's round to the nearest tenth. I put those little squiggle equals because it's about equal. If I do this, let's see. So the square root of 61, and over here you can see the answer 7.8 if we round to the nearest tenth. So it's about 7.8. And that would be the answer then for both MA and MH. Now to find this other missing side, we know these will be the same, but we got to do the same process. So 5 squared plus 8 squared equals, once again, I'll put c squared this time. So 25 plus 64 equals c squared. We're going to get 89 equals c squared. Square root of both of those. So c equals the square root of 89, which is, if we go back here, the square root of 89, and we get 9.4. Oops, wrong one. So 9.4. and that would be the length for both of these. Okay, the final concept on kites here is we know there's always one set of congruent angles, the opposite angles that are congruent. So if we look here, 140, clearly not congruent. So we know over here will also be an X. That makes sense because that is from where it changes 2 markings to 1, 2 markings to 1. It's not in between two sides that are congruent, okay? So if we add all of these up, 100 plus 40 plus X, we know we will get 360 because there's 4 sides. Okay, so it's 360 for every quadrilateral. So 100 plus 40, that gives us 140. We take that away from 360. So we get 220, and we can divide this by 2. We will find X to be 110 degrees. Once again, this last one, same idea. Trying to find angle J. We don't know what it is right here. So what I do know is that J and L are the same. So we'll add those two other angles together. So 70 plus 150 gives us 220. We'll take 360 minus that 220. We get 140. Go ahead, divide that by 2, and we will find the measure of angle J to equal 70 degrees. Now that also equals L, and in this case it also equals M. So go ahead, sign into It's Learning, get the assignment done. If you have any questions, let me know. Hope you guys have a great day. Bye.